What if I told you that the most dangerous person in any room isn't the workaholic, the overachiever, or even the genius? Is it the guy everyone calls lazy? You know the type. Big dreams, bigger ideas, but somehow never seems to actually. Society calls him lazy. Carl Jung called him something else entirely. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why this person terrifies everyone around them, including you. Or maybe you're that lazy, ambitious person? But first, let me show you exactly what I mean. You walk into a coffee shop and see two people. At one table, there's Sarah, laptop open, color-coded planner, typing furiously. Classic overachiever. At another table, there's Mike, scrolling his phone, looking half asleep, and hasn't touched his notebook in an hour. Who would you bet on to change the world? Hold that thought, because what I'm about to tell you will flip your thinking about success. Mike has an idea that could revolutionize transportation. Sarah is updating her LinkedIn profile. Mike sees solutions to problems that Sarah doesn't even know exist. Sarah is optimizing her morning routine. So why does everyone think Sarah will succeed and Mike will fail? Here's the uncomfortable truth. You judge Mike because he threatens everything you believe about how the world works. Carl Jung spent his entire life studying people like Mike, and what he discovered was this. Society doesn't fear lazy people. We fear the lazy, ambitious man because he proves that everything we've been taught about success is wrong. But here's what Jung knew that nobody talks about. The lazy, ambitious man isn't actually lazy. He's operating from a completely different level of consciousness. While everyone else is running in circles, he's playing a different game entirely. And that game, that's exactly what will change your perception. But to understand why, we need to dig into the one thing that makes people more uncomfortable than anything else. Jung wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But what happens when one person refuses to react the way you expect? If you've ever felt misunderstood or underestimated, this video is for you. Like, subscribe, and let's flip the script together. That's the lazy, ambitious man. He's a walking contradiction that breaks your brain. Dreams bigger than anyone you know, but might not get out of bed until noon. Has insights that could change industries, but won't even change out of his pajamas. Sees opportunities everywhere, but appears to pursue none of them. And this terrifies us. Because if ambition doesn't require constant action, if brilliance doesn't demand 5 a.m. wake-ups, if success doesn't need the performance of being busy, then what does that say about the exhausting race you've been running your entire life? But here's where it gets really interesting. Jung discovered something that explains why this person makes you so uncomfortable. And it has nothing to do with laziness. Remember that uncomfortable feeling you get around the lazy, ambitious man? Jung had a name for it. And once you understand what it is, you'll never see productivity culture the same way again. Quick question. When was the last time you did something just because you wanted to? Not because you had to, not because it would look good on social media, not because it fit your goals. Just because you wanted to. Can't remember? That's the problem. Jung discovered that our obsession with productivity isn't about getting things done. It's about proving we're not worthless. He called this the shadow, the parts of ourselves we're terrified to face. And in our culture, the biggest shadow is the fear of being seen as lazy, worthless, or unproductive. But here's what Jung knew long ago. We perform productivity. We optimize our lives. We hustle and grind and post about it online. Not because it works, but because we're terrified of what happens if we stop. Think about your last vacation. Did you relax? Or did you feel guilty, anxious, like you should be doing something productive? The lazy, ambitious man doesn't feel that guilt, and that's what makes him dangerous. He's not performing productively. He's not proving his worth through constant motion. He's not even pretending to be busy. And somehow, this is the part that breaks people's brains. He still has better ideas than everyone running around like their hair's on fire. Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." What irritates you about the lazy, ambitious man? That he's not playing by the rules you've been forced to follow? That he's not sacrificing his present for his future? That he's not treating his life like a problem to be solved through better time management? But what if he's not the problem? What if the problem is, actually, let me show you something first. Because Jung made a discovery about the human mind that explains why this person has such incredible ideas despite appearing to do nothing. Here's what the productivity gurus don't want you to know. Your unconscious mind is infinitely more creative than your conscious, effortful thinking. Everything you've been taught about how ideas work is backwards. Jung wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity. The creative mind plays with the objects it loves." Pause the video and read that again. The creative mind plays. It doesn't grind. It doesn't hustle. It doesn't set smart goals. It plays. Einstein got his theory of relativity during a daydream. Tesla saw his inventions during evening walks. Jung's biggest breakthroughs came during what others called his lazy periods. So what's really happening in the lazy, ambitious man's mind while you think he's wasting time? He's not scrolling mindlessly. He's not being unproductive. He's doing something most people never access. He's letting his unconscious mind process information at levels you can't even imagine. While you're forcing yourself through another productivity framework, he's making connections between ideas you don't even see. This is why his ideas seem to come from nowhere. But in reality, they're not coming from nowhere. They're coming from a deep well of unconscious processing that's been happening while everyone assumes he's doing nothing. Remember Mike from the coffee shop? While Sarah was updating her LinkedIn, Mike's brain was solving transportation problems she didn't even know existed. Jung called this active imagination, when your conscious mind steps back and lets your unconscious present its insights. But here's the really crazy part. This process can't be forced. It can't be scheduled. It can't be optimized. It happens on its own timeline. And that's exactly why society fears the lazy, ambitious man. Because he's tapped into something that can't be controlled, can't be managed, and can't be turned into a productivity system. Jung believed that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. The lazy, ambitious man has accepted something most people never will, that his mind works differently, and that acceptance gives him access to something that all the life hacks in the world can't provide. But it also makes him a threat to something much bigger than individual productivity. Now we get to the real reason society fears the lazy, ambitious man. And it's not what you think. This isn't about individual success. This is about power. Jung wrote, "The individual has always had to struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe. But the lazy, ambitious man isn't struggling against the tribe. He's ignoring it completely. And that's terrifying to anyone who profits from your compliance." Think about it. Our entire system depends on one belief. You go to school for 16 years to learn to follow instructions. You get a job where you trade hours for money. You buy things to signal your status. You optimize your life to be more productive for what exactly? The lazy, ambitious man looks at this system and asks one simple question: why? And nobody has a good answer. He has ambitions without anxiety, dreams without desperation, ideas without the need to immediately monetize them. This makes him unpredictable. Unpredictable people are dangerous to systems that depend on predictability. But here's the deeper fear that keeps people up at night. What if the lazy, ambitious man is right? What if ambition without anxiety is actually more effective? What if dreams pursued from peace are more likely to manifest than dreams pursued from panic. If that's true, then millions of people have been suffering for nothing. They've been sacrificing their mental health, their relationships, and their happiness for a system that was never designed to serve them. The lazy, ambitious man represents proof that there's another way, a way that doesn't require constant performance or endless optimization. Jung observed, "Your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." The lazy, ambitious man is looking inside, and what he sees there doesn't match what society tells him he should want. But here's where this gets personal, because Jung himself was the perfect example of what happens when society labels someone as lazy but ambitious. Carl Jung was literally the lazy, ambitious man of his time, and his story proves this. His colleagues thought he was wasting his potential. The academic world called him too mystical. Society labeled him as brilliant but impractical. Jung spent years in what looked like unproductive solitude, exploring his own mind, developing ideas that seemed to have no practical application, writing in journals that nobody reads. Sound familiar? That's exactly what people say about the lazy, ambitious man today. But here's what Jung knew that his critics didn't. He had accepted something terrifying, that his mind worked differently, that his contributions would come from inner exploration rather than external achievement. And from that acceptance came insights that revolutionized psychology, the collective unconscious, personality types, the shadow, the anima and animus. All of these concepts shape how we understand human nature today. They all emerge from what looked like laziness, but was deep, patient, unconscious processing. This is the pattern with history's greatest contributors. They appeared lazy to their contemporaries because they weren't engaged in visible, measurable activity. Einstein called it combinatory play. Tesla called it mental experimentation. Jung called it active imagination, but society called it laziness. The lazy, ambitious man today is following the same pattern. And just like Jung, he's waiting for something. He's not trying to force his dreams through traditional methods because he intuitively understands that traditional methods won't work for what he's trying to create. He's waiting for the right moment, the right insight, the right convergence of circumstances that will allow his unconscious vision to manifest. And that waiting looks like laziness to everyone else. Here's what Jung knew that our society is still learning. The lazy, ambitious man isn't broken. He's evolved. Things you've been taught about ambition are designed to keep you trapped. But maybe you're starting to recognize yourself in this description. Maybe you're wondering if you're one of these people that society has mislabeled. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But becoming who you truly are requires a different kind of courage. Let me show you the signs. If you are a lazy, ambitious man, understanding this will change your entire life. First sign, you have ideas that seem to come from nowhere. While others are researching and planning, solutions just appear in your mind. You can't explain where they come from, but they feel true in a way that researched ideas never do. Second sign, traditional productivity advice makes you feel worse, not better. Every time you try to implement someone else's system, you feel like you're fighting against your own nature. Third sign, your energy comes in waves that don't match normal schedules. You might be useless at 9 a.m., but brilliant at midnight. You might need 3 days of apparent inactivity before 1 day of incredible output. Sound familiar? That's not laziness. That's your unconscious mind following its own rhythm. Jung discovered that the creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity. Your mind is playing while everyone else thinks you're wasting time. You're incubating while they are forcing. You're processing while they are performing. But here's where it gets really important. You've been taught to see these traits as weaknesses. You've been trying to fix yourself, to become more like the productive people around you. Jung would tell you to stop. He'd tell you that your different rhythm isn't a bug, it's a feature. When you stop fighting your nature and start working with it, you gain access to genuine ambition, not the desperate, anxious ambition that drives people to burnout. The calm, patient ambition that comes from knowing who you are and what you're capable of. This is why your dreams are so big. When you're not exhausting yourself trying to be someone else, you have energy for visions that match your true potential. This is why your confidence seems unearned to others. When you're not basing your worth on external validation, you can believe in possibilities others dismiss as unrealistic. But accepting this truth about yourself, that's the hardest part. Now comes the practical question. How do you live as a lazy, ambitious man in a world that demands constant productivity? Jung believed that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But once you accept your nature, you need a strategy. First, stop apologizing for your rhythm. Your energy patterns aren't random, they're information. When you feel the urge to do nothing, that's not laziness calling. That's your unconscious mind asking for processing time. Give it that time. Protect it. Defend it against people who want to fill every moment with activity. Second, learn to recognize the difference between rest and avoidance. The lazy, ambitious man needs both, but they feel different. Rest feels peaceful, necessary, like charging a battery. Avoidance feels anxious, guilty, like running from something. When you're truly resting, ideas come. When you're avoiding, nothing comes but more anxiety. Third, develop what Jung called active patience. This isn't passive waiting, it's conscious preparation for when your moment arrives. While your unconscious is processing, your conscious mind can be gathering resources, building skills, and creating conditions for when inspiration strikes. But here's the most important part. You have to stop measuring yourself by other people's timelines. Society wants everything yesterday. The productivity world promises results in 90 days. Social media celebrates instant success. But Jung understood something deeper. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That journey doesn't happen on a schedule. Your ambitions might take years to manifest. Your ideas might need time to mature. Your moment might not come until you're 40 or 50 or 60. And that's not failure. That's mastery. Think about it. Every lazy, ambitious man in history was told he was wasting his potential. Jung himself didn't publish his most important work until his 60s. His ideas seemed impractical for decades. But when his moment came, everything he'd been quietly developing suddenly became relevant. His laziness turned out to be preparation for contributions that outlasted all his productive contemporaries. The same pattern happens over and over. The person everyone dismissed as lazy suddenly emerges with something that changes everything. Because while everyone else was optimizing their efficiency, he was optimizing his authenticity. While they were following other people's systems, he was developing his own understanding. While they were performing productivity, he was actually becoming someone worth being productive about. Here's what nobody tells you about being the lazy, ambitious man. Your moment will come, but it won't look like anyone else's moment. Let me say it again. Jung wrote, "Your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." You've been looking inside while everyone else looks outside. You've been awakening while they've been dreaming of conventional success. And that awakening gives you something productivity culture can't provide. The ability to dream without anxiety, to have ambition without desperation, to create without forcing. But your moment won't announce itself with fanfare. It won't fit the hero's journey narrative that movies have taught us to expect. Instead, it will feel quiet, inevitable, like something that was always meant to happen. The circumstances will align. The timing will feel right. The idea that's been incubating will suddenly have a clear path to manifestation. And when that moment comes, all the years of apparent laziness will reveal themselves as necessary preparation. Every day you spent doing nothing was actually your mind solving problems others couldn't even see. Every period of rest was actually your unconscious making connections that conscious effort would have missed. Society fears the lazy, ambitious man because he represents a different relationship with time, with success, with human potential itself. He proves that maybe the problem isn't lazy people who need motivation. Maybe the problem is a system that pathologizes natural human rhythms and tries to force everyone into the same productive mold. If you're someone who has big dreams but struggles with traditional productivity, if you have ambitions that seem disconnected from your actions, if you've been labeled as lazy despite having a mind full of possibilities, Jung would recognize you immediately. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You're not failing at life. You're operating from a different part of human potential than society is equipped to recognize. The question isn't whether you'll achieve your ambitions. The question is whether you'll have the courage to trust your process long enough to let them emerge. Because Jung was right. Your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. And sometimes the most ambitious thing you can do is trust what you see there, even when the rest of the world can't see it yet. The lazy, ambitious man isn't society's problem. He's society's possibility. And that's exactly why they fear him. If this video made you see yourself differently, or if you recognize the lazy, ambitious man in your own life, let me know in the comments. What's the biggest dream you've been afraid to pursue because it doesn't fit the traditional productivity model? And if you want more content that challenges everything you think you know about success, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Because we're just getting started with ideas that society doesn't want you to hear.